Hey, what's up guys? Ryan here from ExtremeTerrain, and today I'm here with Adam's Driveshaft heavy duty front 1310 Greaseable CV Driveshaft. This is going to be for those of you guys that have a 97 to 2006 Jeep Wrangler TJ, but unfortunately this is not going to work for you Rubicon or Unlimited guys. Now this is for you Jeep owners that are looking for one hell of a driveshaft that's going to be very reliable and it's going to handle all of the abuse that comes with off-roading. This is a very tough and durable driveshaft that's going to handle all the demand and stress that comes with us venturing into those trails. Now the stock driveshaft and driveline is designed for stock angles, stock height, stock tires, and of course when you add a lift, you add larger tires on there, you're putting a ton of stress and torque on your driveline, and there's a lot of weak points, and one of those being your driveshaft. Now eventually at some point in time your driveshaft is going to wear out. It is a wear item, either that or you're going to break, and at that point in time you'll wish that you had replaced that driveshaft. Now like I said, this driveshaft is designed and built to handle all of those demands, all of that stress that comes with off-roading. Now this driveshaft is built very well. It's designed to be very strong, and it is very strong. It's specifically designed to handle all of that stress of taking your Jeep out in the woods, all of that additional weight, traction, and pressure of a modified vehicle. This driveshaft is physically larger than your factory one, and it's a hell of a lot stronger. It has greasable ends, which I think is very beneficial because it's going to add to the longevity of this item. You're going to be able to grease it, and if you do get any water or mud in any of these joints, you'll be able to grease it and push all of that stuff out. Overall, I think that it's going to add to the longevity. It's going to keep this thing alive for a lot longer. Now Adams has been making driveshafts for a long time. They've been making driveshafts ever since 1996, and they specialize in custom driveshafts. However, they do make a lot of off-the-shelf options, such as this one here. This is a 1310 driveshaft, just like your factory driveshaft. So it is a direct swap, and this is designed to handle up to a 35-inch tire. Now, if you did want to run larger tires, they do make an extreme duty option, which you can find on our website, and that is a 1310 option as well. So like I said, there's no replacing other parts. It's just going to be a direct swap. Now, aftermarket driveshafts can range anywhere from $300 all the way up to $750. Currently, this driveshaft is priced right around $300, which I think is a great deal. Honestly, this is one of the strongest driveshafts. I run these driveshafts in my TJ. I've never had any issues with 35s. And with that being said, it being one of the strongest driveshafts currently on the market, one of the most affordable options, and to add to that, Adams even sweetens the pot with a lifetime warranty. They guarantee these against twisting or breaking, so as long as you follow those guidelines, you run 35-inch tires with this. If you ever have any issues with twisting or breaking, Adams is going to guarantee this one. He's going to send you a brand new one. Overall, this is a direct bolt-on. The one end at the transfer case is a little tough to get to, so we did take the skid plate off just to get a little more access. This isn't something that you have to do, but of course it makes it a lot easier, and that's going to add a little bit of time. Overall though, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, as you should be able to get this thing in, bolted down, and that skid plate back on within an hour, and you can do all of that just using basic hand tools that you have rolling around in your toolbox. So with that being said, let's hop into our install. Tools we use for this install: 3/8 drive impact, 8mm ratcheting box wrench, 1/4 inch drive ratchet, a socket adapter 3/8 to 1/4 inch, 8mm socket, 1/4 inch drive, 1/2 inch socket, 3/8 drive, 19mm socket, 1/2 inch drive, small pry bar, 1/2 inch drive impact. Alright guys, so we got our Jeep up in the air. We do have it on a lift. The first thing that I'm actually going to do, I'm going to take the skid plate off. This is something that you can do on the ground. You don't have to necessarily take the skid plate off, but the bolts where the drive shaft meets the transfer case, they're pretty deep in there, so I would recommend probably getting that thing out of the way. The one thing that you do want to be careful is if your bolts that are holding the skid plate to the frame start to spin. That is usually a common issue with the TJs. However, so taking the skid plate off, I'm going to take off these 4 nuts right here. This is for the transmission mount, and I'm going to use a 1/2 inch socket. All right, so we got our transmission supported on the bell housing with a pole jack. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to start taking out the bolts that hold the actual skid plate to the frame. There's going to be 3 on each side. We're going to start with one side. It would be a good idea to grab a friend to help you hold the skid plate while you get all these bolts out, or you can always stick a floor jack or a pole jack underneath it as well. To get these bolts out, you can either use a 19mm or a 3/4. So we'll set those bolts aside. We'll go over the other side and we'll get those bolts out as well. So now we're on the other side. We're going to take these bolts out. Take this middle one out. Now we should be able to loosen up this back one just a little bit and swing this plate out of the way. That way we don't have to take it all the way down. So that's what I'm gonna try to do right now. All right, guys, after you get all those bolts out, we'll take the skid plate down, we'll set it aside, and we can start taking the drive shaft out. All right, so we're gonna have 4 bolts on the end of our yoke that's holding the drive shaft to that. So we're gonna spin this around. As you can see, this is just gonna rotate around. You're gonna spin the front wheels. If you do have it on the ground, you wanna jack one side up. That way, one wheel spin allow you to turn this. So we're gonna take an 8mm socket. You could probably use a 5/16 as well. What we're gonna do is just get all these bolts out. All right, so we got one more bolt to go. We're gonna crack this one free, and then we're gonna wrap a bungee cord around the drive shaft. That way, when we go to take the other side out, this side won't fall. All right, so I couldn't find a bungee cord, so what I'm gonna do is just use a piece of wire. Really, you can use anything. You can use a coat hanger, an old t-shirt, another second set of hands. All we want to do is just keep this thing from falling. So we'll do that just like that. We'll take out this last bolt. Then we'll go take out the bolts out of the other side. Now, same thing goes for the front. We're gonna have 2 retaining straps right here. Each one is gonna have 2 bolts in it, and you'll just need that same 8mm or 5/16. Up here we got a little more room, so I'm gonna use an impact just so I can speed it up a little bit. Now we want to save this hardware, we want to save these little retaining straps, so I'm just going to set these over here on the lift arm. That way when we go to put this new one in, we'll have those available. Spin that all the way around. Now, once you get that last strap off, these are probably going to stay in place. Just take your pry bar, get in between the yoke and the drive shaft, and all you got to do is just push on that, slide that to the side. You want to do that on both ends. And then we're going to grab it in the middle. And if you got a bungee, you want to disconnect it. You did what I did with a wire, you just cut it. And we can pull this, get it out of the Jeep. All right, guys, so before we get this brand new drive shaft installed, what I did, I put both of them on the table, and what I want to do is just talk a little bit about the construction of this brand new drive shaft from Adams. Compare it to your factory one, kind of point out some of the differences. Now, the first thing that you're going to notice with this drive shaft is going to be the tubing diameter and construction. So in between these welded ends, obviously the tubing right here is a lot thicker than the factory one, and that is just going to equate to a much stronger drive shaft. Now, Adams does guarantee that these are not going to twist or break on you. Now, not only is this tubing going to be a lot thicker, a lot stronger than your factory one, but also this spline shaft where it allows it to go in and out and accordion, that's also going to be a larger diameter as well. So the overall, it's just going to be a lot stronger of a drive shaft. And these welded ends, the same thing, we're going to have basically the same setup that you have on your factory one. So we're going to have a 1310 U joint down here. We're going to have that same uni-ball construction up here, that double cardan joint. But one thing that is changed up with Adams is that this particular drive shaft right here is greasable. Now there are some pros and cons. One of the cons would be theoretically because there is a hole drilled through there to provide grease and allow it to flow into there, that would ultimately reduce the strength just a little bit. However, I run these drive shafts on my Jeep and I really don't have an issue as far as these things go. I personally like the greasability aspect. It allows you to maintain these U-joints, pump them full of grease whenever you need to, and it just overall increases the longevity, whereas the factory U-joints or a non-greasable U-joint, of course, they're gonna come pre-packaged with grease, and when that grease decides to dry out, well, they're just gonna start to wear out. So overall, I think that is a beneficial aspect of having a greasable U-joint, and Adam uses the same 1310 U-joints as the factory one. So they are gonna be those Spicer U-joints, they are gonna be a very strong U-joint, and one of the main things is gonna be this is a direct swap, so we don't have to swap out a yoke on the axle or the transfer case. This is just gonna be able to drop right in, and you're gonna be able to bolt these up. Now, along with the U-joints being greasable, of course, this little section right here is greasable as well, and overall, when you're off-roading, when you're going through mud, water, whatever you're doing, you just wanna maintain that grease in there. Of course, you're gonna get a lot of stuff in here. It does have a very nice seal in here, but you just want to keep that whole thing greased. Now this does come with brand new bolts. It even comes with some thread locker, and like I said, this is a direct drop-in. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. What we're going to do, we're going to take this drive shaft over to the Jeep, and I'm going to show you how to get it installed, and then we'll see what it looks like. All right, so basically going to do the reverse process of getting this drive shaft out. So probably want to get a second set of hands to help you get this started. We're going to start with this front section right here where it meets the transfer case. Now you are going to get brand new bolts, so what Adams wants you to do, they want you to clean the oil residue off of those, and they give you a little packet of red Loctite. So put a dab of red Loctite on those, and then we're going to thread those in. So we're just gonna go around, we'll get all four of these bolts in, then we can tighten them up, then we can go to the other side and get those in. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to put this in the end of our axle. So what you want to do is you want to press it in. Now there's going to be a little bit of grease that squirts out because these things are filled with grease. So once we push that in a little bit, so once you push this in, there is going to be some grease that comes out. You want to wipe that grease away. Now next thing we're going to do is take off this tape. So Adam has put some tape on here, and that is so these end caps don't come off. So while you're pulling this tape off, you want to be very careful because if you pull the end caps off, they have little tiny needle bearings in there, and those can fall out. You can lose some, and then that is going to affect the integrity of your U-joint. So once you get all that tape off, I'm going to put this into position. This is just going to slide in, and we'll extend it a little bit. And we want it to sit in between these feet. So on the end of this yoke, you have these little alignment feet. You want to make sure that it slides into there. If you have any rust or dirt, you want to clean all that stuff off. And we're going to put these little retaining caps back on. Just want to make sure to hold this in place, don't let it fall, slip out. That is going to wrap it up for my review and install. For more videos and products like this, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.